Hey everybody, and welcome to Long Story Short with Uncle Jeff. Today we are continuing in the exciting story of the Gatewatch. It's time for Amonkhet! When we last left our heroes, the Gatewatch just discovered that Nicol Bolas is behind the recent events on Kaladesh, and he likely has a larger scheme. Despite the warnings of their new friend Ajani, the Gatewatch have decided to planeswalk to Amonkhet and fight Nicol Bolas. Liliana, the nefarious necromancer, has a secret addition to this plan. She is hoping that her friends will help her kill the demon Razakath, who also lives on Amonkhet. Razakath is one of the 4 demons that Liliana made a pact with. Liliana hasn't told her companions that Razakath is here, and she isn't sure what the best way to break the news is. After discussing their plan, the Gatewatch disappear into the blind eternities and emerge on Amonkhet. They find themselves in an endless desert wasteland. The Gatewatch set off through the desert, heading towards a monument shaped like Bolas's horns. At the end of their journey, they get attacked by a bunch of zombies and some sandworms. Liliana is only able to control some of the undead horde and has to resort to using the Chain Veil, a dark and powerful artifact with nasty side effects. The Gatewatch kill one of the sandworms, but its giant corpse rises again. You see, Amonkhet has a curse on it which makes all things that die automatically turn into a zombie. And then this thing shows up. She is taller than even the sandworms and fights with an unstoppable fury. Her name is Hazaret, and Gideon recognizes her as a god. The Gatewatch flees towards the horns as Hazaret slays the worms and zombies in droves. The Gatewatch reaches the top of the next dune, and now they can see the city of Noctumen. Noctumen is covered by a large dome called the Hekma. The intrepid heroes fight their way to the Hekma, and Jace casts a spell that allows them to enter it. Once inside, they meet a vizier named Temet. Temet introduces them to a strange and foreign city. All of the people in the city are young soldiers. They are in constant drills to prepare for the trials of the gods. They wear cartouches to signify the trials that they are competing in. The city is also full of mummies called the Anointed. The Anointed do all the work necessary to keep the city running, which allows the living to focus on their training. Temet explains that they are preparing for the arrival of the God Pharaoh, and he motions to the horns. Apparently, Nicol Bolas is on vacation right now, but he'll be back at some point. The heroes also see another one of the gods. Her name is Oketra, and she's a giant cat lady. Gideon is concerned because Gideon is from Theros, and there are gods there too, and the gods there were not very nice to Gideon. But Oketra seems cool, and she somehow knows that Gideon's true name is Kytheon, so Gideon's like, nice, I like you. And Jace and Liliana are all like, hey, didn't Nicol Bolas create this place? Doesn't that mean that all these gods are evil? But Gideon's all like, nah, she can't be evil, she's a cat lady. Anyway, Temet gets the Gatewatch a room, and they're up on their balcony, and they see a woman running through the streets, yelling about how the gods and the trials are all a lie. Chandra's are like, hey, we should help that lady, and the others are like, well, how about we don't, because the others don't want to get involved. The city guards capture the woman and take her away. Chandra isn't satisfied, and the next day she and Nissa go explore it, hoping to find the woman. They run into a vizier named Petra. Petra reveals that the return of the God Pharaoh will happen within a few days, and she is very excited about it. Nissa and Chandra continue exploring and find a monument with some sarcophagi. The monument has a bunch of old symbols on it, as well as some new symbols in the shape of Bolas's horns. Nissa realizes that Bolas is not the creator of this world, he corrupted it, perhaps recently. Before Nissa and Chandra can approach the sarcophagi, Gideon and Sister Whiskers show up, and Oketra's all like, stay back, friends, these sarcophagi are hella off limits. And Nissa's all like, hey, cat god, what do you remember about the past? And Oketra's all like, I don't remember the past. And this is all like, hey, doesn't that seem weird? And Oketra's like, nah. And then Chandra's all like, Gideon, why do you have a cartouche? And Gideon's all like, these gods are cool and stuff. So I just thought like, yeah, just doing the trials and stuff. And Chandra's like, wait, no, don't. But Gideon doesn't care because he has a squish on Oketra. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Liliana is trying to figure out where Razakath is. Jace joins her, probably because he has nothing better to do, and they go off to do some snooping of their own. Jace asks Liliana what they are doing, and she doesn't really tell him, but he figures it out anyway. And then Jace gets really mad because Liliana didn't tell him this from the get-go. Liliana's all like, whatever, you're not my supervisor. And they find a building with an inscription of Razakath on it, so they go inside. The building's full of mummies that are going about their various tasks. Liliana is reading more inscriptions, trying to figure out where Razzle Dazzle is, when Temet shows up. Temet's all like, I talked to Kefnet, and he doesn't remember your birth, which means that you are outsiders. And then Temet sends all these mummies to attack them, but Jace mind controls Temet long enough for he and Liliana to escape. Anyways, Nissa wants answers, so she goes to Kefnet to see what he knows, and then she gets there, and there's this vizier, and he's all like, you gotta do the trial of knowledge, lady. And Nissa's like, sure, whatever. And then she starts having all these weird visions of angels from Innistrad, and Emrakul, and chess pieces. And then, as soon as the trial ends, Kefnet is there, and he's angry because Nissa messed with his trial, so he tells her that he's gonna kill her. But then, Nissa tries to feel the ley lines around her, which is a fancy way of referring to the magical lines around her, and she realizes that the gods are made out of ley lines, and that by tugging on them she can manipulate Kefnet. So she does that, and Kefnet immediately decides to turn leave, and Nissa leaves too. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Oketra leads Gideon to the Ta crop, which is the name of a team competing in the trials. Gideon meets Jeru, who's the leader of the top crop. He also learns that he's replacing Samet, the woman he saw yelling in the streets the other day. Gideon is pretty jacked to do the trial of ambition, after which the crop members will all get a cartouche from Bantu, the god of Florida. Gideon tries to fight alongside his companions, but is confused to see that the top crop does not try to protect each other during battle. Instead, they leave each other to die in their endless quest to reach the end of the trial. Jeru starts getting angry at Gideon because he keeps ruining the deaths of his companions. When they reach the end of the trial, only half of the crop are still alive. Bantu tells the crop members that their final test is to bring him someone else's heart. Gideon is horrified to see all of his crop members turn and start attacking each other. Bantu gets mad at Gideon because he is the only one who will not bring her a heart and tells Gideon to get lost. After the trial's over, Jeru is visited by Samet in secret. Samet has spent the last few days evading the guards and wants to speak with Jeru. She tells him that Amonkhet was once different, that the god pharaoh has corrupted it. She tries to convince him that dying in the trials is not what he wants, but Jeru's faith in the gods is strong, and he tells Samet that she should leave. Samet is desperate to save Jeru, so she goes to speak with Hazaret. She begs Hazaret not to kill Jeru, but Hazaret does not listen. The god has Samet arrested and held in a sarcophagi until the Trial of Zeal. The Trial of Zeal is the final trial before the return of the god pharaoh, and Samet is now a part of it. When the trial starts, she is released, and she sees the crops charging towards her. Hazaret watches as the crops slay countless dissenters, but Jeru will not harm Samet. Instead, when the trial has ended, he leads her up to speak with Hazaret. Jeru asks Hazaret to let Samet join him in his glorious death that he has now earned. Hazaret prepares to strike them down, just as Jeru has requested, but before she can, Gideon leaps in front of both of them and shields them from the attack. Jeru is furious that Samet and Gideon robbed him of his glorious death, but Hazaret has already turned and left. In the distance, the two sons of Amonkhet have now moved between the horns of the monument, signaling that the return of the god pharaoh is at hand. And there you have it, folks. That is the story of Amonkhet. What will happen next? Will Jeru ever forgive Samet? Will Liliana convince her friends to help her slay a demon? Will Nicol Bolas' return mean the end of all existence? We'll find out next time on Hour of Devastation. I've been Uncle Jeff. Thanks for watching.